The Crusades is a new Chicagoland film getting a national release on July 7th. Three friends from Notre Dame High School in Niles got together to bring this story to life. Leo Milano, director and co-writer, here to chat all about it. Thank you so much for your time today.
So glad to be here. This is awesome. Fellow Don, let's go, man. Bleed green.
Exactly. You got, I know, I should have worn some green today. We could have matched. We should have coordinated this or better.
Gosh dang. Next time.
Thanks so you actually got to film in Notre Dame. If you went to that school, you know the hallways, you know the lunchroom, you know the outside. What was it like having that conversation of like, here's the story, I want to bring it back to my high school?
So it was the most important thing to me. Yeah, number one was it was crucial that I filmed it in Chicago. Obviously, it was a tough sell. It was the middle of the pandemic. No one lives here, so the entire cast and crew. Oh no, great local crew, but the entire cast had to fly in. My first call, the second we got funding, was to the president of Notre Dame, the best, Shea Boyle. I was like, hey, if this doesn't work, I'm going to be devastated. This is Our Lady of the Crusades. Nothing to do with your school. It's just the perfect setting. This is how I picture it in my head, and I need this location. And luckily, the school rallied behind it, and they gave us their blessing and their support. And honestly, it was just a dream come true, because I don't see it anywhere else.
Because it's a fictional school, but tell us a little bit about the story and how you came about writing it.
So the story is about three friends, all boys private high school. And it takes place the weekend that they find out they're going to be possibly merging with their rival school, and realizing that their lives, their social lives, their academic life, everything, sports, are probably going to get turned upside down. And they're going to have one last fun weekend before it all changes. But they're all dealing with their demons, right, and their battles, and they all kind of have their own character arcs that they're going with. And I've been working on this thing for like 12 years now. I was a freshman at Columbia, and when I started meeting new people and new friends, and you start talking about your high school experiences, everyone looked at me cross-eyed when I started telling them about my high school experience, and I didn't think anything of it. And so I realized that a lot of people haven't experienced like the culture of 800 guys being trapped in a school for 4 years, So it's such a different environment that I think a lot of people are used to. And I got my two of my best friends, Sean and Jack, on board. We were like, we got to tell these stories. There's so many great stories here, and it's an untapped demographic, in our opinion. So, I was compelled to just tell the story in any capacity.
Because especially going to that school and going to an all-boys school growing up, you knew the rivalry when sports teams would compete against each other, or if there was a dance or something where girls were involved, that the guys did not know how to act because basically they were taken away from that environment. So it was so awkward. There's awkward parts of it that I think are so perfectly shown in this film.
That's my favorite part of high school. And looking back at how uncomfortable it all was, is there's some magic to that. There's some magic to it. And that's kind of the theme of the film, is just being too naive to understand like the consequences of your actions, or that everything's not life or death. And in the moment in high school, everything seems like the biggest deal in the world. And it's not in the grand scheme of life. But to these, teenagers, like, those school dances can be extremely awkward or life ending if something happens that's just like they get blown off by a dance or something. But that was my approach when shooting this movie, is I really wanted to portray it from the mind of a high schooler, and just make it over the top dramatic. Make it moody, make it dramatic, but have the comedy come out in their situations and how they react. So, high school is dramatic, but it's really funny at the same time.
Exactly. Because I was watching the film, and I was like closing my eyes, and I was like, it feels like my experience. And I think so many people who either went to an all-boys school or an all-girls school could relate to that feeling, because everything is awkward, everything is dramatic, and sometimes you feel like you only have one night to make this perfect, or one weekend to make this perfect, or one game to make this perfect, or one something. And looking back, you're like, oh my God, this is so much of those 4 years of my life.
Yeah, and it's so funny, because in the moment it's like the longest 4 years, and looking back, it's the blink of an eye. I can't believe it's been 13 years for me. But when you're in the trenches, it's everything is just the end of the world, most important thing ever. And I think that's the comedy, is that it's just irrelevant. Well, a lot of it,
let's talk a little bit about some of the cast. Rudy Pankow, who all people know from The Outer Banks, hugely successful show. Have you known him for a long time? How did he become involved in this project?
Oh, Rudy's the absolute best. We were casting for this role, and one of our executive producers, Nick Totaro, the son of actor Nick Totaro, he's like, we know someone that knows his manager. Look at the script in his hand. I'm like, great, long shot. We're an indie film. Obviously, he's on a huge Netflix show, and he read the script, and he liked it, and off to the races. Basically, it was just as simple as getting it in his hands and him reading it. But I can't picture anyone else in the role. So just so grateful that he took it on and he made it a life of his own. So I'm excited for his fans to see it, and it's very fun times right now.
Someone else that I'm super proud of is Khalil Everage, because I got a chance to, I think it was his first interview or one of his first interviews when he did the movie Beats, which is also shot in the Chicagoland area. Yes. And just how much he's grown and just all of his success, and just even seeing him in this film, I was just like, I felt so proud for, the steps that he's taken. And tell us a little bit about his character.
So yeah, he plays the character of Sean, and I think he's a very relatable character in the fact that, like, he's a jock. He's not the best jock, but he's a jock. And I think he's his how he views himself in school and his friends is more important than, like, maybe his relationship. And, like, he just wants to be accepted, and he's feeling the pressures of, dating in high school. And, we have a really interesting angle on how we approach his relationship. And, I think it's going to be really relatable to a lot of kids. And we took a little bit of an unorthodox approach for his relationship with the character Jess, played by Indiana Massara. And it's fun. He's a teddy bear in the movie. He's a little rascal. He gets in a lot of trouble. You just can't help to love him. So when we got him, I was like, such a great Chicago tie. My mentor, Bob Title, was the producer of Beats. And when we were casting for Sean, he just literally FaceTimed me one day saying, hey, this is my boy Khalil. He's in Cobra Kai. You got a part? I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm literally on his IMDb right now. Yes. It was wild, because I was trying to cast him the very day that I got the phone call from my mentor, being like, I'm having lunch with him right now. Do you have anything for him? Like, absolutely. I have a great role for this kid. And he crushed it. And his movie just came out like last month, and on Peacock, and he's definitely got a bright future.
Awesome. Well, I love the way that all the paths for this film kind of came together in the perfect way.
Crazy. I mean, this journey is insane. Like, it all came together in the final hours too. Like I said, this has been a 12-year journey, and like the last few months before filming, everything just came together. And the fact that the movie comes out in 2 weeks is like, I've waited my whole life for this, and, like, it's coming too fast now. I'm like, slow down.
Exactly. All 12 years are coming through in, like, just, a matter of days.
Yeah, days are flying by in seconds. So I'm like, we don't have time. I got to figure this out, blah, blah, blah. But I do want to talk a little bit about Khalil's character and Indiana's character as well, too, because I think people, either you were that person, or you had a friend who was that person who, it's tough having a significant other in high school, because you want to be with your friends, you're creating these new friendships, but then you also know a relationship is special. And it's tough to balance those two things as an adult, let alone as a teenager. I think this movie shows just kind of what happens when you're trying to invest into a relationship, but you also want to invest in your school and your friends. And it's tough to be pulled in so many directions. It is tough. And those high school relationships are really, really tricky too, especially because you're just growing as a human being, and you don't really know how you're supposed to act, how you're supposed to have this balance in life. And I think there's a great line in the movie where it's like something like, I don't think you're going to look back and say, I wish I spent more time with my high school girlfriend instead of, having the time of my life with my best friends. There's, like, it just goes back to the whole thing of, like, everything feels so life or death. And it's about maturing and growing. And I think a lot of that I tried to put in the film is that, these kids are young, and they make mistakes, and they're growing and learning.
You're having a big celebration leading up to the film. You have the 4th of July parade that you're going to be here in the Niles area, and then big premiere at the Pickwick Theater in Park Ridge. And shout out to Dave and Dino, the owners of that theater, wonderful friends of mine as well too. Talk a little bit about what's going on for you that premiere week.
Yeah, so we got the world premiere. So on the 4th of July, we have there's Indiana Massara's character drives an Escalade in the film. We have that Escalade. We're going to be going through the Niles Parade with it and passing out a bunch of posters and with some of the part of the local cast that's in town and me and the co-writers. And then we got the premiere in the city that will be on that Friday and then that Thursday and then Friday the 7th it'll open exclusively at the Pickwick. And that's just a dream come true. The Pickwick, is the heart of the community that we filmed in, and it's just a staple. And it's one of those places that you go to growing up, and it just feels special. It feels cinematic and magical. So it's definitely an honor to have the film playing there.
As far as writing the film, I don't know, about your time at Notre Dame, but it was very much by the book as far as like, here's your math classes, your history classes, your science classes. And there really wasn't as creative as an environment as it would have I got that creative classes and that creative experience when I went to college, but in high school, it necessarily was not that experience for me. Where, was this something, did the school change its curriculum? Was it something outside that you were like, here's where I want to get in, part of this entertainment industry?
Yeah, there's a few factors, like a few key factors. And when I look back on my career in this journey, like there's a few players that are like detrimental in this arrival right here. And it's totally like, my parents gave me a stocking stuffer, a little standard definition camera one year that I didn't touch for 6 months. And I was taking these creative writing classes, and I accidentally got into drama my senior year. Like there was no other option. One of my classes dropped out last minute, and I only had one option, that was drama. And that senior year, the teacher, Tyler Beatty, just he took me under his wing, and he allowed me to do videos instead of live performances like the rest of the class. And I started just working the craft. The school, I started finding ways throughout my senior and junior year to instead of doing presentations, I'd be like, hey, can I shoot a short film on this? And we'll show it on the projector. And they're like, yeah, no one's ever asked us that, for sure. So that's how I would just start practicing. And then over the weekends, me and my friends would do it. But Notre Dame, the faculty just completely embraced my creativity. Even my counselor just helped me, when I'm picking Columbia as my college. And I was really lucky in that there wasn't necessarily things set up. Like now they have a media center and all this stuff, film club. There was none of that when I was there, and they were awesome. And just supporting me and yeah, if you're going to do your homework, any way you want to do it, as long as you do it. So I got a lot of practice and grew my love for it. So I'm really
well, now that the media center is there, I can only imagine, that you were an inspiration for the creativity of other students who maybe want to do that well now. So you not only, had your experience, got to film there, but also are making a positive change there in the school.
I hope so. I know we're set up to do a podcast for Notre Dame soon. Their media club and some other people have set up a Notre Dame alumni podcast. So I know me and the writers are going on there. But it was really funny. We shot a pilot, Rudy, 2014, I think, at Notre Dame again. Went on YouTube. I'm like, we're going to be in Hollywood. This is great. I starred in it. Me and the co-writer started in it. We played Sean, Jack, and Leo. And it went a little bit viral within the community. And then I found out years later on the set of the Crusades that our sound mixer was actually a student at Notre Dame. He saw that and it inspired him to get into the industry. And I had no idea, we never met. And until we were on set, he goes, hey, I got into this industry. I saw your pilot you did here, and that inspired it. So you love hearing stuff like that. We actually had a bunch of Notre Dame students come out as extras on this movie too. So, you got to keep it all in the family.
How did it feel going back into the school? Because it's been too many years since I've been in that school, but I looked at the hallways. I was like, I know this hallway. I know these lockers. The lunchroom looks the same. The classrooms look the same. It has such a unique design to it that it's still kept over the years.
It's the best. There's such a charm to that building. There's just even when you walk in, it just instantly get taken back by the scent, by the aesthetic, everything. I personally, they're doing so much work and the school's looking amazing. Now they're doing new new hallways. They have air conditioning. Like they just redid the field. I'm like, this is great. But
Air
it's not
conditioning. What? Stop me right there.
right. That's crazy. So, you know, I'm so happy for them, but for me selfishly, I'm like, I it has to stay the same. But it was the best feeling. I mean, we were filming in July, and you know, it was, you know, we wanted it to be like a sweaty look the whole movie, just to embrace that feeling of uncomfort. And we filmed in June, and it was just scorcher in there, man. Like with the big, all the lights on, the cameras, everything, like it was probably 100 and some degrees in those classrooms when we were filming. And you'll see it on their face. That's real sweat in the movie. So it's all part of the story, and the school itself is totally a character.
Now, as far as your career, because right out of high school, or was it right out of college or high school where you worked on Transformers?
Yeah,
With
straight out of high school. That summer I graduated.
You got to work there, which was a huge filming here in the Chicagoland area. Also, as Tyler Kinney's or you as stand-in
Taylor stand-in,
for Chicago Fire. Are you still based in the Chicagoland area? Are you coming back here, to spend the extra amount of time, or is this your home?
Chicago boy. I live here. I do the whole bounce back and forth game, to the West Coast. It's hard to leave. When you have support like this from the community, it's like, how do you leave it? So, a lot of people told me I couldn't make a movie living in Chicago, and they were probably right. And then the pandemic happened, and it completely changed the entire landscape of filmmaking, where all casting, all meetings, everything were over Zoom. And I got really lucky in that aspect that we hit a really weird window where I was able to live in Chicago and get this movie made.
Awesome. Well, Leo, thank you so much for your time today. Cannot wait for the film to premiere. Have a great week leading up to the film's release here with the parade in Niles, and then also as well the big opening night at the Pickwick Theater.
Thanks so much, Rudy, man. I appreciate you having me on, and I hope to see you on the red carpet.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.